The sun began to rise over Manila, painting the sky in orange hues that contrasted with the grey smoke that always hung over the city. Amara woke at the first rays of light, as she had every day for 3 years, in the small room she shared with 2 other migrant workers in a deteriorating boarding house in the Malate district. The alarm hadn't even gone off yet. Her body had already adjusted to the grueling routine that awaited her. At 28 years old, Amara carried on her shoulders not only the weight of her own struggles, but also the responsibility of supporting her family she had left behind in Mindanao. Her dark skin and distinctly African features, a heritage from her great-grandfather who had arrived in the Philippines decades earlier, made her a constant target of curious stares and malicious comments on the streets of Manila. But she had learned to hold her chin high and move forward, even when words cut deep. The cold shower in the shared bathroom fully awakened her, and while getting dressed in the black and white uniform she wore at Café Sampaguita, Amara mentally reviewed her list of worries. The room rent was overdue. The money she sent monthly to her sick mother in Cotabato wouldn't be enough for the new medications, and there was still the electricity bill due next week. She walked through the still empty streets of Ermita, watching street vendors who were already preparing their carts for another day of work. The smell of freshly baked bread mixed with the aroma of coffee coming from small cafeterias that were beginning to open their doors. For many, it was just another ordinary morning in the Filipino capital, but for Amara, each day represented a new battle for survival. Café Sampaguita was located on a busy corner of Taft Avenue, frequented mainly by university students, office workers, and occasionally some lost tourists. The establishment wasn't luxurious, but it had a rustic charm that attracted a loyal clientele. The dark wooden tables, hanging plants, and decorations with traditional Filipino elements created a welcoming atmosphere that contrasted with the urban chaos outside. Amara arrived 15 minutes early, as she always did, and began preparing the coffee for the day. Her movements were precise and efficient, the result of years working in different establishments since arriving in Manila. She knew every detail of the place, every preference of the regular customers, and took pride in never having received a complaint about her work. On the contrary, many praised her dedication and kindness. While organizing cups and plates for the morning rush, Amara had no idea that this day would change her life forever. In a few hours, an unexpected encounter would test not only her dignity and resilience, but also reveal that miracles sometimes emerge when we least expect them, coming from people we would never imagine. The morning rush at Café Sampaguita was proceeding normally when, around 10 o'clock, a group of well-dressed men entered the establishment. Amara was cleaning a table near the window when she noticed the different movement at the entrance. There was something in the air, a special energy that made other customers turn their heads and begin whispering among themselves. At the center of the group, a medium-height man walked discreetly, wearing a dark cap and sunglasses, clearly trying to go unnoticed. His companions, visibly members of his security team, chose a table at the back of the cafe, away from the windows. Amara didn't immediately recognize who it was, but she could tell from the respectful attitude of the other staff members that this was someone important. Nalani, the cafe supervisor, nervously approached the table where the group had settled. Her eyes gleamed with a mixture of excitement and anxiety that Amara had rarely seen. The 50-year-old woman, normally confident and controlled, seemed suddenly intimidated by the presence of the special customers. She gestured discreetly to the other waitresses, quickly organizing who would serve the table. For a few minutes, there was a hushed discussion among the staff about who would have the responsibility and honor of serving the VIP customers. Some seemed eager for the opportunity, while others appeared too nervous to take on the task. Amara watched the situation from a distance, continuing her work of cleaning tables and serving her regular customers, when Nalani approached her. The expression on the supervisor's face was a strange mixture of opportunity and caution. She quickly explained that all the other waitresses were busy with full tables and that Amara would need to take over service for the special table. There was something in her tone of voice that suggested both confidence and slight apprehension, as if she were giving Amara an important chance, but also a test she couldn't fail. Amara smoothed her uniform, checked that her hair was properly tied back, and headed to the table with her usual professional posture. She approached with a genuine smile, carrying her order pad and pen, ready to offer the best possible service. She had served executives, local politicians, and even some minor artists before. She treated everyone with the same courtesy and professionalism she had learned was essential in her work. When she reached the table, the man in the cap slightly raised his head, and for a brief moment their eyes met. There was something familiar about that face, but Amara couldn't immediately identify it. He ordered a simple black coffee while his companions requested various drinks. The normalcy of the order contrasted with the palpable tension hanging in the air, as if everyone was waiting for something significant to happen. Amara headed to the beverage preparation area with her usual efficiency, but noticed her hands were trembling slightly, an involuntary reaction to the tension she felt in the atmosphere. While preparing the orders, she could hear whispered conversations among the other staff members, trying to confirm the identity of the mysterious customer. Words like champion and senator floated in the air, but she focused on her work, determined not to disappoint. The black coffee was prepared with special care. Amara chose the freshest beans and made sure the temperature was perfect. She placed the cup on an elegant tray, along with a small plate of complimentary house cookies, and added a carefully folded napkin. Her years of experience had taught her that details make all the difference in service, especially with important customers. Walking back to the table, Amara maintained perfect balance of the tray, navigating between the other occupied tables. The café was full at that hour, with university students studying for exams, executives in work meetings, and groups of friends chatting animatedly. The constant hum of conversations created a welcoming atmosphere that she always appreciated. It was the sound of life happening around her. When she was just a few steps away from the special guests table, a distracted student abruptly stood up from his chair without looking around. Amara tried to dodge, but the space between tables was limited. The young man bumped into her shoulder at the exact moment she was passing, causing the tray to lose balance in her hands. For an instant that seemed eternal, she struggled to regain control, but physics was merciless. The coffee cup flew from the tray toward the VIP table, and Amara watched in horror as the hot liquid spread across the wooden table, dripping onto the clothes of the man in the cap. The silence that followed was deafening. All conversations in the cafe ceased instantly, as if someone had pressed a pause button on real life. Dozens of pairs of eyes turned to the scene, capturing every detail of the accident. Amara's heart was beating so hard she could hear it in her ears. Her hands trembled as she quickly bent down to collect the pieces of the broken cup, murmuring desperate apologies. Her face burned with shame and panic, knowing that her career at Café Sampaguita and possibly her ability to find another job in Manila was at stake. In a few seconds, her professional life seemed to have crumbled before everyone. The man's companions quickly stood up, some with irritated expressions, others apparently concerned about the situation. The tension in the air was palpable, and Amara could feel the weight of all eyes on her. It was as if time had stopped and she was trapped in that terrible moment, knowing that in the next few minutes she would discover the consequences of an accident that hadn't been her fault, but for which she would be entirely blamed. Nalani appeared beside the table like a hurricane, her face red with embarrassment and fury. Her words came out in a torrent of apologies directed at the customers, followed by a severe reprimand for Amara that echoed throughout the cafe. Everyone present could hear every word of the public humiliation unfolding, and Amara felt as if she were being stripped of her dignity in front of dozens of strangers. The supervisor ordered Amara to kneel down to clean every drop of coffee from the floor, while continuing to offer profuse apologies to the offended customers. Her words cut deep, questioning Amara's competence, her ability to work in a respectable establishment, and suggesting that perhaps she wasn't suitable for serving important clients. The condescending tone made it clear that, in Nalani's eyes, Amara was expendable. Other cafe customers began murmuring among themselves, some expressing pity, others seeming to enjoy the drama unfolding. Some took out their cell phones, clearly trying to capture the moment for their social media. Amara's humiliation was being documented and would soon spread across the internet, adding an extra layer of mortification to the already unbearable situation. Amara remained kneeling on the floor, collecting the porcelain pieces with hands that trembled so much she could barely hold them. Tears of shame burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall in front of all those spectators. Her dignity had already been shattered. She wouldn't allow them to see her emotional vulnerability as well. Every second that passed seemed like an eternity of humiliation. The man in the cap remained seated in silence, observing the entire scene unfold. His companions gestured and commented among themselves, some appearing irritated by the incident, others apparently embarrassed by the supervisor's exaggerated reaction. There was palpable tension in the group, as if they were awaiting a decision or reaction from their leader on how to proceed. Nalani continued her performance of indignation, promising the customers that Amara would be severely punished for the incident. She spoke about the establishment's reputation, about the importance of maintaining high service standards, and about how some employees simply didn't understand the responsibility of working in a respectable place. Every word was a stab at Amara's already wounded self-esteem. The entire cafe had transformed into an arena of public humiliation, with Amara at the center as the target of all negative attention. She could feel the judgmental stares, hear the whispered comments, and realize that her professional reputation was being publicly destroyed. At that moment, she had no idea that the real surprise was yet to come, and that the silent man observing everything had the power to transform that humiliation into the most significant experience of her life. When Nalani finally paused her humiliating tirade, the man in the cap slowly stood up from his chair. His movements were calm and deliberate, contrasting dramatically with the emotional chaos dominating the atmosphere. He carefully removed his cap and sunglasses, revealing a face that caused several cafe customers to let out muffled exclamations of recognition. It was Manny Pacquiao, the legendary boxer and former senator of the Philippines. Pacquiao bent down to Amara's level, who was still kneeling collecting the pieces. His voice was soft and respectful when he asked her to stand up, extending his own hand to help her. The simple gesture, yet profoundly human, caused an even deeper silence in the cafe. Everyone watched, unable to believe what they were witnessing. One of the Philippines' most famous men treating a humiliated waitress with dignity and respect. The champion looked directly into Amara's eyes, and with a sincerity that touched everyone present, said that the accident had been just that, an accident. He explained that he had clearly seen how the student had bumped into her and that she bore no blame whatsoever for what happened. His words were like a balm for Amara's wounded dignity, validating her version of events in front of everyone who had witnessed her humiliation. Pacquiao then turned to Nalani, and his expression changed subtly. Without raising his voice but with unquestionable authority, he expressed his disappointment with how the situation had been handled. He explained that he had spent his life fighting against injustices and that he couldn't remain silent while watching an honest worker be publicly humiliated for something that wasn't her fault. His protective stance toward Amara surprised everyone. The supervisor, realizing the gravity of her situation, began stuttering apologies and attempts at justification. But Pacquiao gently raised his hand, interrupting her words. He explained that he knew the difference between a genuine mistake and negligence, and that what he had witnessed was clearly the former. His life experience, from the poor streets of General Santos to world boxing rings, had taught him to recognize people's character. The boxer then did something no one expected. He apologized to Amara on behalf of everyone present for the way she had been treated. He acknowledged that she deserved respect and dignity, regardless of her social position or origin. His words echoed through the silent cafe, creating a moment of deep reflection about prejudice, social class, and basic humanity. Pacquiao addressed Nalani again, but this time his voice carried a firmer tone. He made it clear that he expected to see Amara treated with the respect that any worker deserves, and that he would consider it personally offensive if he learned of any retaliation against her because of the incident. The weight of his words was immense, not just because of his fame, but because of the moral authority he represented to millions of Filipinos. After publicly defending Amara, Pacquiao did something even more surprising. He asked for cleaning cloths and products to be brought and began cleaning the spilled coffee from the table himself. The simple gesture, yet profoundly symbolic, caused a devastating emotional impact on everyone present. Here was a man who had won world titles, served in the Senate, and accumulated considerable fortune, cleaning spilled coffee as a gesture of human solidarity. Amara tried to protest, insisting that she should do the cleaning, but Pacquiao gently refused her offer. He explained that all work has dignity and that there was no shame in cleaning. He himself had worked countless humble jobs before becoming famous. His words carried the wisdom of someone who had never forgotten his origins, even after reaching the top of the world. While cleaning, Pacquiao calmly conversed with Amara, asking about her life, her dreams, and her family. He discovered that she sent money to her sick mother in Mindanao, that she worked 6 days a week to survive in Manila, and that she dreamed of someday getting a better education. Each detail of the conversation revealed a woman of strong character, determined to overcome adversity through honest work. The boxer recognized in Amara something he himself had been decades ago, someone fighting against all odds, maintaining dignity even in the face of difficulties. He briefly shared his own story of poverty, of working selling cigarettes on the streets, of sleeping in market stalls, and of how boxing had given him an opportunity to change his life. His empathy was genuine and deep. When he finished cleaning, Pacquiao sat down again and asked for a new coffee, this time specifically served by Amara. He wanted to publicly demonstrate his confidence in her, undoing any doubt about her professional abilities. The simple request was an act of public rehabilitation, restoring the dignity that had been attacked minutes before. Everyone in the cafe watched in respectful silence. Amara prepared the new coffee with hands that no longer trembled. The confidence demonstrated by someone so respected had restored her self-esteem and professional confidence. When she served the drink, Pacquiao tasted it and sincerely praised its quality, commenting that it was one of the best coffees he had had in Manila. The compliment, coming from someone of his stature, echoed throughout the establishment. During the next few minutes, Pacquiao remained in the cafe, chatting quietly with Amara, whenever she wasn't busy with other customers. He showed genuine interest in her story, her challenges, and her aspirations. For the other customers, it was an extraordinary spectacle, witnessing the humanity and humility of a national icon. For Amara, it was validation that her dignity as a human being mattered, regardless of her social position. In the weeks following the incident at Café Sampaguita, subtle but significant changes began to occur in Amara's life. The story of her encounter with Pacquiao had spread quickly through the neighborhood, transforming her into a small local celebrity. Customers began coming to the cafe specifically to be served by her, curious to meet the waitress who had received such a demonstration of respect from the national icon. Nalani, the supervisor, completely changed her attitude toward Amara. Where there had once been condescension and coldness, there was now careful respect and even deference. The older woman seemed to have understood that she had misjudged her employee and that her previous treatment had been observed and disapproved of by someone whose opinion truly mattered in the Philippines. The power dynamic in the cafe had subtly shifted. Amara, in turn, carried herself with new confidence. The experience of having her dignity publicly defended by someone who didn't know her had planted a seed of self-esteem that grew each day. She began speaking with more assurance, smiling with more genuineness, and treating each customer with the same respectful courtesy she had received from Pacquiao on that transformative day. The other cafe staff also changed how they interacted with Amara. Where some had previously treated her with the typical indifference of big cities, there was now recognition that she possessed something special, the approval and respect of a living legend. Conversations that had once been superficial became deeper, and Amara discovered she had more friends at work than she had imagined. The clientele of Café Sampaguita also evolved. Many of the new customers came not just out of curiosity, but ended up returning for the quality of Amara's service. Her story had become a symbol of how ordinary people can be extraordinary, and how kindness can be found in the most unexpected places. The cafe experienced a significant increase in business, benefiting all the employees. During this period, Amara reflected deeply on the impact of that day on her life. It wasn't just the external changes that mattered, but the internal transformation that had occurred. She had learned that her dignity didn't depend on others' approval, but that when someone defended it publicly, it created a cascading effect that changed everyone's perception around her. The experience also taught her about the power of empathy and compassion. Pacquiao could have simply ignored the incident or even been annoyed about the spilled coffee. Instead, he chose to see the situation through Amara's eyes, recognize the injustice, and use his influence to correct it. It was a lesson about leadership and humanity that she would carry forever. 6 months after the incident that changed her life, Amara received an unexpected opportunity. One of the regular customers who had started frequenting Café Sampaguita after hearing her story was the owner of a small restaurant chain. Impressed by her dedication, professionalism, and the way she treated all customers with equal courtesy, he offered her a supervisory position at one of his most prestigious establishments. The proposal included not only a significantly better salary, but also health benefits for her and her family, plus opportunities for professional growth. It was exactly the kind of chance Amara had dreamed of, but never dared believe she could receive. When he explained that his decision had been influenced by the story of how she had handled adversity and maintained her dignity, she realized that that terrible day at the cafe had become the key to her future. Before accepting the new position, Amara made sure to say goodbye properly to Café Sampaguita. Her last week of work was marked by impromptu celebrations from colleagues and regular customers who had followed her journey. Even Nalani, who had been the source of her initial humiliation, expressed sincere admiration for her perseverance and wished her success in her new endeavor. On her last day, Amara wrote a thank you letter that she never intended to send, but kept as a memento. In it, she expressed her gratitude to Pacquiao, not just for defending her that day, but for teaching everyone present about dignity, respect, and humanity. She acknowledged that the real gift hadn't been just the public defense, but the lesson about how to treat other people with compassion, regardless of their social position. In her new position, Amara implemented policies that ensured all employees were treated with respect and dignity. She never forgot what it was like to be on the vulnerable side of a power situation, and used that experience to create a more fair and compassionate work environment. Her leadership became known for being firm yet gentle, demanding yet empathetic. The story of the encounter with Pacquiao continued to echo far beyond that day at the cafe. Amara discovered she had become a small inspiration in her community, proof that dignity and hard work are eventually recognized and rewarded. Young migrant workers occasionally sought her out for advice, and she always shared the most important lesson she had learned: never allow others to define your worth as a person. Years later, when Amara had already established herself as a respected professional in the hospitality industry, she still remembered that day as the moment her life truly began. Not because Pacquiao had made her famous, but because he had shown her that she had always had dignity. She just needed someone to help her see it. The spilled coffee had become the catalyst for a transformation that changed not only her life, but the lives of everyone who knew her story, proving that small acts of compassion can have extraordinary and lasting consequences.
Leave your like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the next cases.